The Guaranteed Housing Stability Act, the legislation that we are supporting and that we are fighting for, will stop evictions of people across the state affected by COVID-19. 1. 2. Will stop foreclosures of people across the state also impacted by this crisis. 3. Will give homeowners the right of deferral, not forbearance, so that they are also protected. And 4. Will create priority funding for the most vulnerable, small landlords, homeowners, and renters in our communities. And we are asking for these protections for 1 year, not 2 months, not every other month. We need protections, if not for more than a year. But this is what our bill is asking. The death of our community is on this governor's hands if he does not act. And we will continue to make sure, and let me just represent, we have folks from Boston, we have folks from Worcester, from Springfield, from Lynn, from Lawrence, from Lowell, from Fall River and New Bedford that are a part of this network. And we will organize in every city to protect our community. We want to make sure that you hear the voices and the stories of families that are here standing up with us today.
I come from a family of 7, 2 parents were Irish immigrants and 5 children. We were a low-income family. However, since everyone in our Boston neighborhood was low income, we had no sense that we were in fact low income. Part of this also came from the fact that my parents owned and we lived in what was called a 3-decker. Taxes and mortgage were paid by rental income and we lived rent-free. Over the years, our 3-family home was used as collateral for loans to pay house repairs, school tuitions, and significant medical expenses. If our tenants lost their jobs and could not pay their rent over a long period of time, my parents would not have been able to meet their mortgage payments. They would have been forced to sell or to go into foreclosure, jeopardizing the shelter of the 2 families as well as our own family. They never had to do that. And today, many smaller landlords who find much of the affordable housing estate are threatened by the need to sell or go into foreclosure. Without some adequate relief, we will face a deeper housing crisis, leading to more homeless families, creating a recipe for expanding our current pandemic. My father's great-great-grandparents were tenant farmers, raising their family on an island off the coast of County Galway in Ireland in the late 1850s. This was the middle of the Great Famine, another pandemic, that Ireland was enduring. Hundreds of thousands died or immigrated to other parts of the world. And in the middle of this, when a British landlord evicted my ancestors and had them thrown off the land, they had no rights. Today in our country and in this city, undocumented immigrants, many with spouses and children who are U.S. citizens, have no rights. They are not eligible for any assistance in Governor Baker's plan. Many have lost their jobs, and after Saturday, the housing force will be back in business. The shelters and the streets will be their home in the midst of the current pandemic. For these reasons, we have come together to demand that Governor Baker support and sign the Housing Stability Act and extend the state eviction ban. Thank you for listening.
What we are talking about is 100,000 families at risk of losing their homes. And we know that Baker can step into his power and do something for our community.
Primero que vamos a empezar dando un agradecimiento a todos los que están aquí, a todos los que están apoyando. Vamos a hablar honestamente, para nosotros fue muy duro pensar y decidir si este era el lugar apropiado, el momento apropiado, pero decidimos que sí y sabemos que ustedes estando aquí con nosotros también saben que esto es necesario.
We say enough is enough. We say no mass eviction, no mass when our families are under attack, we will stand up and we will fight back. And the good book says, foxes have holes in which they lay. Birds have nests in which they lay. But the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. We're not going to let that happen in Massachusetts. We're not going to let that happen on the North Shore. We're not going to let it happen over our dead bodies. We are going to walk. We're going to march. We're going to stand in the street. And we're going to call. We're going to clamor. We're going to sing. We're going to chant. We're going to pray until Governor Baker. It is the job of the strong to protect the poor. It is the job of the wealthy to fight for the weak among us. They want to kick out our neighbors, our families, our friends. Well, we come tonight to say, not one more. Not one more. The governor, who is the poster child of governors. He is the poster child of governors. Because everybody thinks that the Massachusetts governor is progressive and he's doing all this. Yet our governor refused to act. Our governor refused to protect the most vulnerable in our community. And we are calling on Governor Charles Baker to act now.
We're in a deep love for our mothers, for our fathers, our uncles, our cousins, our family, our community. We're in a deep love for our people because we have seen before. My family was a part of the last foreclosure crisis. We have seen before the devastation that this causes on our communities, and our governor has the ability to act, and he is not. He is completely acting insufficiently. We know that our home is our shelter. Our home is where we quarantine. That's right. So what are you supposed to do if you try to put us out on the street? Amen. We bore the brunt of this pandemic. So start straight. We have the right to demand something right now. We was hit the hardest. We was put on the front lines. We were serving tables until the day they decided to fuck everything up. We were still in every business every time they tried to open it up. We were still on the train stations. We were still in the buses before any protocols were put in place. So our people got sick, not because we live 12 deep in a house. That's some racist stuff. It's because we work. And because it ran on us, it ran through us, and we will not allow that. We will not allow the politics of this governor to run through our communities. We have suffered enough in this pandemic, and it is time he listen up. Yo simplemente quiero decir que nuestros hogares en esta pandemia ahorita son nuestra casa, son donde rezamos, son donde estamos trabajando, son donde estamos supuestos a hacer cuarentena. Nuestro hogar ahorita es todo para nuestra comunidad. Y en ese momento donde el hogar es tan crítico, tenemos un gobernador que no quiere mover para proteger a nuestras familias. ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué falta de humanidad es esa? La verdad es que nuestra comunidad sí tiene derecho de exigir. Sí. Porque nosotros hemos sido los más afectados. Porque mi mamá se une a la iglesia por teléfono y escucha nombre tras nombre de gente que ha muerto por este virus. Nosotros lo hemos sentido en nuestras comunidades. Aún antes de que cerraran todo, aún cuando cerraron todo. ¿Y por qué? Porque nosotros trabajamos. Porque nosotros respaldamos todo este país. Por eso nos ha dado más duro. Y entonces sí, eso nos da el derecho hoy de exigir. Y siempre de exigir.
Get down with evictions. Get down with evictions. I said down with evictions. I said down with evictions. Jump up for the renters. 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 I said down with evictions. I said down with evictions.
I'm a Lynn school teacher. We've been told by the Massachusetts leaders, including Governor Baker and Education Commissioner Riley, that the primary concern that drives the reopening plan of Massachusetts schools are those of equity and mental health. You, our elected and appointed leaders, have reminded us as teachers to think of our at-risk students, including students with disabilities, students impacted by trauma, and students who are English language learners. If you're truly concerned with equitable access to a high-quality education and with students' mental health, then you will take measures to ensure that no child has to face the added trauma of eviction during a school year already filled with so many unknowns. You cannot, and we cannot, on one day, express concern for our most at-risk students and allow them to lose their home, which doubles as their school, on another. We cannot ignore the impact of trauma on developing brains. We all know traumatic experiences in childhood can diminish concentration, memory, and the organizational and language abilities they need to succeed in school and to compete with other communities, which you will make us do in April. Massachusetts educators are the best in the nation. We are finding innovative ways to reach and teach all students.
Yeah, that's right.
However, we cannot teach a student if their shelter doesn't provide adequate Wi-Fi.
Yes. Yes.
We cannot teach a student if their parents can't set up their internet in their new home, which you force them to go to, due to language difficulties.
Yes, that's right.
We cannot teach our students if their caretakers have to make the hard decision between paying rent or paying for phone data, which gives them access to their education.
That's right. That's right.
We cannot teach our students if they are ridden by anxiety over their parents being thrown into an ICE facility.
Yeah, that's right.
We cannot teach our students if they have to move in with their cousins or their friends, and 5, 6, 7 or more students are doing school from a 2-bedroom apartment because we threw them out of their homes. We cannot teach our students if they spend all day in school wondering if they will come home to locks on their door. We can't keep saving them at the last minute. That is not okay, and it's traumatizing them. They can't learn if they're traumatized. To ignore the fact that access to education and housing stability aren't two sides of the same coin is downright negligent.
That's right.
To send teachers the message that we must reach and teach our highest risk students while you allow students to lose their caregivers and their homes is not that far from saying let them eat cake.
That's right.
If we really care about education equity, we need to ensure that no child faces housing instability or family separation, and we guarantee a long-term home and a long-term family while they have to learn from home.
Governor Baker, you're comfortable in your house with your family. We deserve the same.
I would like to share a story of a single mom of 3. She got COVID-19 back in April. She was working at a nursing home. She lost her job. Her employer said that once she got better, she would go back to work. They would call her back. She got better. She called them and she told them she was better. Unfortunately, they did not let her back to work. And she was working that same week that she got sick with another worker who got sick and died. Unfortunately, the nursing home did not do anything for the family of the person that died. It's a shame. So she got better and she was doing well for a long time. And unfortunately, she got COVID again weeks ago. And there she was without work since April until now. She had been looking for work and she couldn't find any. Now she's sick again with COVID-19. Thankfully, she's back at home recovering. But how is she going to support her 3 children without a job and with COVID? Governor Baker, please pass the House Stability Act because many families depend on it. Nannies and other domestic workers are essential workers, but they are not treated as essential workers. Their pay does not reflect essential workers. We are essential workers for many families and households across Massachusetts. And it is critical that we are not forgotten during this crucial current crisis. As Black domestic workers, we are in a pandemic within a larger pandemic. We are in the center of the coronavirus that is disproportionately killing us or leaving us without a job to take care of our families and at a higher risk of eviction and foreclosures. All too often, Black communities lack the resources or support to keep us in our homes, whether we are renters or homeowners. As domestic workers who take care of other people's households in order to support our own, we are devoted to ending homelessness, increasing affordable and sustainable housing, and expanding housing rights for working families.
Are you on the side of the renters, the homeowners, the families in our communities, or on the side of the big boys with the big bucks?
Yes.
Are you taking the side of the voices of our neighborhood, or just the corporations that are backing you? We need you to step up and do something different for our neighborhood. We need you to pass the act now.
All right, y'all, like Mimi reminds us, we are in an unprecedented moment in our community, but it's really important that we continue to hear and be led by the voices on the ground, the voices of people directly affected, the voices of people who have been part of this housing fight, because this housing crisis has only become exponentially worse because of this pandemic, but it was never not here. And in that, I'm going to introduce a huge leader at City Life and a homeowner. Please give it up for Carolyn Lomax.
I had to come out tonight because I've heard a lot of great speakers talking about our children, their needs. It's a must. Parents, we need to navigate our children. It's a must. But we can't do it without housing and efficient housing.
That's right.
I'm a homeowner in Dorchester. I've been there for 17 years. And I also have a small business in Dorchester that has not been able to open fully. We will never go back to the way it was because we are a salon and we cannot just shampoo and go. Our clients can't just get a color and walk out the door. So we've got a few more issues at stake. But what I want to say is I hear people saying that when COVID started, we just stopped working. But let me clarify something. We were asked. And then we were told. They called our business. They said, look, you're going to have to shut down for the greater good. So I said, you know what? If we're going to stop this pandemic, what we must do is stand together and follow our governor. Now, I'm going to give it to you, Governor. You came out strong. Give it to him. He came out strong. Put the protections in place early. But I'm feeling bamboozled, Governor.
Right.
I am feeling bamboozled. How can you tell me to close my business, to shelter in place at home, not to send my kids to school, and think after the moratorium is lifted that I'm going to have $40,000 to give my mortgage company? Wait a minute. Let me say it again. I don't think y'all heard me because this is so serious. Our governor said you have to shelter in place. My tenants are affected by COVID. They can't work. Their hours are reduced. Some got children. That means more water is running. More food needs to be bought.
Right.
More needs need to be met. More toilet tissue. More antiseptic. We're paying an arm and a leg and an eye now because of COVID. But let me just say this, Governor. I would hate to think you're allowing the system that was not created to include people of color, that's me. I would hate to think that you're being used as a pawn for the bigger kill. Back in 2008, we had the greatest home issue in the world. They was coming in, taking people's homes. It's called gentrification. Fast forward now, we're in 2020. And you mean to tell me a governor who set up and agreed to a strong moratorium only to come in and against all odds during a pandemic, during an earthquake, during a tsunami, and not make sure our needs are met? Something has to give. We are asking that you support the housing guarantee bill. Come on now. Been there before. This is the greatest illusion, and I'm tired of being a part of the illusion of the inclusion. Because I hear people saying that we have rights. And I hear people saying that the systems are broken. Let's be clear. The systems were created never to include me. So now, I'm sitting here, Governor, and I've just been waiting. I said, look, our governor is coming through. That's what I've been saying. I want to be optimistic that our governor is coming through. And I'll tell you why. Because he loves being our governor. Who put him here? We did. Oh, wait a minute. That's... Maybe not. Who put him here? We did. And who can take us out? We did. Let me tell you something, Governor. This is the greatest illusion. Do not fall for the okie doke. Gentrification is real. And if that is the goal and you are a part of that, you are going to reap what you sow. But let me take another spin on it, and then I'm going to be quiet for now. You might be afraid, Governor, and I get it. You know that you got big friends out there that you done did a lot of favors for, and they're counting on you to help take us down. That's what's happening if you're afraid to be out here rallying against big businesses, people with a lot of money, people who are funding your campaign, and you're scared that you're going to lose your home and be out here like us. I get it. But if you don't let us down, Governor, we got you. Hello? If you don't let us down, we will mob the streets.
Thank you, Carolyn, for reminding us what this looks like for parents. Thank you for reminding us what this looks like for small business owners. Thank you for reminding us what this looks like at the grocery store. Thank you for reminding us to what this looks like for black folk, for black women, for communities of color. Thank you for reminding us that there are people waiting for October 17th. There are people cheering on October 17th. Banks that are waiting to rip people from their homes are waiting for that date. Giant corporate landlords are waiting for that day. We already have residents that let us off this march testifying. We had a tenant today testifying that their landlord is saying, I'm waiting for that day. We know all across our community, they're waiting for that day to take us out. Thank you, Carolyn, for reminding us of all of that. Thank you for letting us sit with the truth and the reality of what this fight means to us, what this fight means for our communities.
Scared to take a letter to your boss.
Yeah,
that's shame.
Housing is
a human right.
Housing is
A human right.
Tener un techo.
Es un derecho.
Tener un techo.
Es un derecho.
Very quickly, I want to say one thing. A couple people in the crowd have been asking, will the governor put out this plan? What about that? So we heard testimonies from people who have firsthand experience dealing with this about why that plan is not going to work. I just want to make sure that message is loud and clear for everyone here, for the news, and most of all for the governor and for the state legislature. That's right. Because death and misery and eviction is going to be on the hands of the governor if he doesn't act, and there's still time to act, and we hope he will. Yeah. But we also need the legislature to act. But we know, as groups that work on the front lines with homeowners and tenants, as well as small-scale landlords, what the governor proposed will not prevent mass evictions and foreclosures. We know that people will be forced out of their homes while they're on the month-long process of trying to get rental assistance. We know that vulnerable groups, including people with immigration status issues, will be pushed out when they get these legal notices that they're allowed to do if the governor doesn't act. We know that depending on the court system and tweaking the process a little bit and hiring more eviction court judges is not, that's what they're doing. That is not a recipe for preventing mass eviction and foreclosure. Amen. So we know this struggle is going to go forward. homesforallmass.org or any of the other organizations that were involved here. Community Labor United was key, along with many others, and our partners in the labor movement. So we've got to keep the struggle going.
We got no power, we are the revolution.
We will stop. For our health. For our community. For justice. We will defend our neighbors. From eviction. With our voices. With our actions. With our bodies. With solidarity.